Got your uniform? Yes, sir. I just got back from deployment. You got ID proving you're military? Yes, sir. It's in my pocket. Hands up. Don't reach for anything. Officer, you asked for my ID. Officer Troy Hicks had absolutely no idea the gravity of the scene he had just instigated. He was oblivious to the magnitude of the consequences that would follow. In the next 72 hours, the consequences would shake institutions. The Pentagon would officially intervene. The Department of Justice would initiate a federal civil rights case, and Hicks would ultimately face charges carrying an unprecedented sentence of 62 years in federal prison. The quiet Marine forced to his knees on the freezing asphalt was no ordinary man. Sergeant David Williams was a highly decorated combat veteran. He had completed 3 brutal combat tours, earned 2 Purple Hearts for wounds sustained in battle, and held a Bronze Star with valor for risking his life to save his comrades under heavy enemy fire. And the entirety of this shocking arrest, from the initial unwarranted stop to the moment the cuffs snapped shut, was being meticulously recorded. Before I continue detailing this astonishing case, let me pause and ask you directly. Have you ever been subjected to unjust treatment or treated unfairly by someone in a position of power? Share your experience below in the comments section. But back to Officer Hicks, he was utterly ignorant of the decorated warrior he had just ordered to the ground. Sergeant David Williams was 28 years old, having immediately joined the Marines after graduating high school. He had dedicated 10 years of his young life to serving his country, including 3 harrowing deployments to Afghanistan. He was not merely a soldier, he was a decorated hero. That designation means the military had bestowed upon him its highest awards for extraordinary courage and bravery in the face of the enemy. His Bronze Star, specifically, originated from a single, chaotic moment in combat when his unit was ambushed. Bullets were flying everywhere, ripping through the air and concrete, and 3 fellow Marines were pinned down, trapped and wounded. Ignoring the imminent danger, Williams sprinted directly into the hail of gunfire. He successfully dragged all 3 men to safety, saving their lives. He also possessed 2 Purple Hearts, tangible proof that he had been seriously wounded in battle not once, but twice. Both times, following his recovery, he chose to return immediately to the front lines to fight alongside his brothers. His commanding officers revered him. They consistently praised his exceptional composure and calmness under extreme pressure. They had already begun the paperwork to promote him to Staff Sergeant, a significant and prestigious advancement within the Marine Corps structure. On this quiet December morning, Sergeant Williams was focused solely on getting home. He was emphatically not looking for trouble. He had just concluded a grueling 9-month tour overseas. He was still wearing his immaculate Marine dress uniform directly from the emotional welcome home event held earlier that day. His destination was his mother's house, a surprise visit planned for months. He had 50 miles left to drive. He pulled off the highway for a quick stop, gas for the car and coffee for the road. Now let us examine exactly what transpired next. Officer Troy Hicks, the man who initiated the stop, had established a notorious reputation within the county he served. And it was a profoundly negative reputation. Hicks was 34 years old and had served as a deputy sheriff for 8 years. While his paperwork and employment record looked superficially acceptable, the reality of his conduct was riddled with deeply concerning issues. For citizens had officially filed detailed complaints against him prior to this specific date. All 4 complainants were black. All 4 alleged that Hicks had stopped them without any legitimate probable cause. Yet, every single one of those 4 cases was closed by the department, citing insufficient proof. Nothing ever impacted Hicks's job or salary. The residents in the local black community, however, knew his name well. They circulated warnings, cautioning each other to exercise extreme care and distance themselves if they spotted his distinct patrol car. They knew he was a catalyst for conflict. On one occasion, he stopped a black pastor driving a church van, detaining him for a lengthy 45 minutes because, he claimed, the van looked suspicious, despite the church's name being clearly painted on the side panels. Another time, he called for armed backup on a black college student who was simply reading a book on a park bench, asserting that the student, matched a description. There was no description. A third time, he falsely accused a black business owner of watching his own store in a strange way. The common thread was devastatingly clear. Every time, the target was black. Every time, they were completely innocent of wrongdoing. Every time, Hicks walked away without penalty or punishment. Let me know in the comments, should a single credible complaint be sufficient to warrant an investigation into an officer's conduct, or does it require 4 or more incidents before action is taken? But this time, everything would be different. This time, Deputy Hicks had chosen the absolute wrong person to target. It was a crisp, cold December morning, approximately 10:30 a.m. The sun was up and the American flag at the gas station snapped gently in the light breeze. Sergeant Williams steered his car into the station. He had been driving for hours, having left base early that morning. The official welcome home event had been moving, but his true focus was his family. He hadn't embraced his mother in 9 months. He was still wearing his immaculate Marine dress uniform, the deep blue jacket, the sharp white hat, the medals gleaming brightly on his chest, the words U.S. Marines clearly embroidered across the front. He stepped out and began pumping gas into his vehicle. He took the moment to call his sister, letting her know he was close, urging her not to alert his mother. It was a surprise. Officer Hicks was already present at the station. Though off-duty, he was driving his marked patrol car. He had gone inside to grab a coffee. When he emerged, he noticed Williams at the pump. Hicks saw the uniform. He saw the medals. And critically, he saw the black man wearing them. Instead of instinctively offering respect and gratitude, Hicks felt an immediate, hardening suspicion. He claimed he had never encountered a black Marine in a small, predominantly white town. He immediately concluded that the distinguished uniform must be a fake. He began walking deliberately toward the pump. If stories highlighting accountability and injustice matter to you, please hit subscribe right now, because what happened in the next 5 minutes will shock you to your core. Hicks halted a few feet away from Williams. His hand instinctively rested near his holstered sidearm. "That your uniform?" he demanded, his voice flat. Williams looked up, exhausted but unfailingly polite. "Yes, sir. I just got back from Afghanistan this morning." Hicks did not thank him. He did not utter a single word of welcome home. He simply fixed his gaze on the gleaming medals and the spotless uniform. His face remained set, cold and unyielding. "You got ID proving you're military?" Williams nodded, of course. He started to reach slowly toward his breast pocket, where his official military identification card was located, the very ID Hicks had just demanded to see. "Hands up. Don't reach for anything." Williams froze instantly. He then slowly, deliberately, raised his hands into the air, his extensive training overriding his shock. "Stay calm. Do not make any sudden movements." "Officer," Williams stated evenly, "you asked for my ID. It's in my pocket." Hicks took a menacing step closer. "On the ground now." "Sir," Williams pleaded, his voice tinged with desperation, "I'm just trying to get home to my family." "I said on the ground. Do it and leave your hands where I can see them." Williams glanced around the gas station lot. Other customers were watching the scene unfold. Several were already holding up their cell phones. One woman covered her mouth in shock. An old man slowly shook his head in disgust. Williams complied. He dropped to his knees. They hit the dirty, oil-stained pavement. His impeccable dress uniform, the same one he had worn for his welcome home ceremony hours earlier, instantly touched the ground. The medals, symbols of extreme valor, pressed painfully into the concrete. Hicks patted him down roughly, searching his pockets. He found the military ID. He found the official dog tags. He found the deployment papers. Everything was unequivocally real. Photo ID. Active duty status clearly indicated. Unit information. Official dates. Everything matched perfectly. "Sir," Williams stated calmly, still on the ground, "you can call Camp Lejeune right now. My commanding officer's number is listed on those papers. I just want to go home." Hicks examined the ID, his mind searching for an excuse. "These could be fake," he muttered. The gas station clerk, a young man who had witnessed the entire interaction, came rushing outside. "Officer, I've seen Marines before," the clerk interjected. "That uniform is absolutely real." Hicks glared and ignored him. An elderly customer, a veteran himself, spoke up firmly. "Those are real medals," he declared. "I know what a Bronze Star looks like." "That is a Bronze Star." Hicks ignored him too, focusing his anger back on Williams. "You giving me attitude?" Hicks snarled at the decorated Marine. "No, sir," Williams replied. Hicks pulled out his handcuffs. He violently locked them around Williams's wrists. The metals on Williams's chest clinked loudly against the cold, restrictive metal. The formal charges listed were impersonating a military service member and suspicious activity. Both were demonstrable lies. Both could have been proven false in minutes. Sergeant Williams was now sitting in the back of the patrol car, still in his dress uniform, just 50 miles from the embrace of his mother. Type wrong in the comments if you believe this action was profoundly unjust. 10 minutes later, they arrived at the sheriff's station. Hicks marched Williams inside. Other officers looked up from their desks. They stared first at the immaculate, yet dirted, Marine dress uniform. They stared at the array of medals. Then, their gaze hardened as they stared at Officer Hicks. They sensed immediately that something was fundamentally wrong. The booking officer that day was Sergeant Mike Torres. Torres had personally served 2 tours in Iraq with the U.S. Army. He knew military uniforms intimately. He knew exactly what genuine combat medals looked like. The second Sergeant Williams walked through the door, Torres knew this was a catastrophic mistake. Torres focused on Williams's chest. He saw the ribbons. He saw the distinctive Bronze Star. You cannot fake a Bronze Star, he thought. The military meticulously tracks every single one ever issued. Torres knew this fact cold. Hicks, Torres said, his voice dangerously low and cold. "This man is a real Marine." "What the hell did you just do?" Hicks tried to stammer out his flimsy explanation. He was acting suspicious. He reached for something. "He reached for his ID because you asked for it," Torres countered sharply. Sergeant Torres walked directly over to Williams. He pulled out his key and unlocked the handcuffs immediately. "Sergeant Williams," Torres said, looking him straight in the eye, "I am truly sorry. This should never, ever have happened." Williams rubbed his wrists, maintaining his composure, but the profound disappointment and hurt were visible in his eyes. This was certainly not the homecoming he had dreamt of. Torres conducted the verification check anyway, following procedure. He examined the military ID, noting the federal security features and the holographic seal, which matched the photo perfectly. He checked the dog tag's correct format. He looked over the deployment papers, official orders straight from Camp Lejeune, commanding officer's name and phone number right there. Torres picked up the phone. He called Camp Lejeune, a mere formality, as he already knew the devastating truth. The officer who answered confirmed every detail. Sergeant David Williams, 3 tours, 2 Purple Hearts, Bronze Star with Valor, recommended for promotion. That Marine, the voice on the other end stated with noticeable anger, has more valor documented in his service record than most careers accumulate. Why in God's name was he arrested? Torres simply looked at Hicks. Good question. Now, this is the moment where everything irrevocably changed. Camp Lejeune did not simply hang up the phone. They immediately called their commanders. Their commanders notified Marine Corps headquarters in Washington. Headquarters called the Pentagon. The Pentagon then called the Department of Justice. Within a matter of hours, a massive federal investigation was formally launched. The FBI became involved. Military lawyers were dispatched. This incident was absolutely not going to be quietly contained. Hicks attempted to behave normally. He sat down and composed his arrest report, claiming Williams was suspicious, claiming the uniform might be fake, claiming he followed standard procedure. But the other officers had seen the footage. They had spoken to the witnesses. They had heard Torres's furious reaction, and they knew Officer Hicks was in deep, existential trouble. By that evening, Williams was officially released. Sergeant Torres personally drove him the remaining miles home. Williams finally saw his mother. She wept when she saw him standing there. She cried again, harder, when she heard the humiliating story of his arrest. But there was one small, vital moment of hope. Torres stayed for dinner. He shook Williams's hand firmly. "Not all of us are like Hicks," Torres insisted. "Thank you for your service." Williams nodded wearily. "Thank you for seeing me," he responded. Type respect in the comments if you agree that Sergeant Torres did the honorable thing. The very next morning, Camp Lejeune held an impromptu press conference. Williams's commanding officer personally flew to Georgia to address the public. He stood resolutely in front of a sea of cameras, holding Williams's official service record. This Marine, he announced, his voice ringing with authority, served his country with the highest honor in combat. He completed 3 deployments, earned 2 Purple Hearts, and holds a Bronze Star for saving 3 Marines under enemy fire. He was treated like a common criminal at a gas station 50 miles from home, while wearing his dress uniform. This is not acceptable. The room was silent. Reporters furiously scribbled notes. "We expect full and total accountability," the commander concluded. Meanwhile, federal agents arrived swiftly in Georgia. The Department of Justice Civil Rights Division formally opened its case files. FBI agents immediately began reviewing the hard evidence. They watched the gas station security footage. It was high-definition quality, providing a crystal-clear view of everything. Multiple civilian witnesses had also recorded the event on their phones. Every angle, every testimony yielded the same undeniable story. Williams stood calmly, answered politely, and never made a single threatening move. Hicks was the sole aggressor. Hicks escalated the situation. Hicks arrested an innocent man based on 0 evidence. The agents immediately pulled Officer Hicks's entire file. They found the 4 previous complaints. The pattern was identical: black targets, no legitimate reason for the stop, and cases closed without consequence. This time, the outcome would be different. Federal prosecutors officially filed charges against Hicks. The charges were severe. First, assault on a military service member. This is a powerful federal crime designed to protect those who serve. Second, deprivation of rights under color of law. This charge meant he used the authority of his badge to illegally strip someone of their constitutional rights. Third, false imprisonment. He locked up a man he knew was innocent. Fourth, official misconduct. He deliberately lied and fabricated details in his official police report. Fifth, hate crime enhancement. The established pattern of targeting overwhelmingly suggested racial motivation. Hicks attempted to mount a defense. His lawyer argued that Hicks was simply unfamiliar with military uniforms. Prosecutors responded with one devastating question: what did Sergeant Williams's jacket say across the chest? The lawyer was forced to reply, U.S. Marines. The lawyer argued that Hicks followed procedure. Prosecutors played the footage on the courtroom screen. There is no procedure anywhere that calls for arresting a decorated war hero who is simply pumping gas. The lawyer claimed the ID could have been fake. Prosecutors explained, military IDs possess federal security features and holographic seals. They can be verified instantly in a matter of minutes. Every single excuse offered by the defense collapsed. Troy Hicks lost his job. He lost his badge. He lost his future pension. And he still had to face trial. If you believe in true accountability for abuse of power, hit subscribe. We cover stories like this every week. While the legal case was rapidly building, the videos of the arrest spread like wildfire. Remember those customers recording at the pump? They uploaded everything immediately. Within 1 hour, the first video appeared on Twitter. The caption read, "Marine in dress uniform arrested at gas station for pumping gas." Within 3 hours, the video had 500,000 views and was officially trending across Georgia. Within 6 hours, national news organizations picked up the story. CNN, MSNBC, Fox, all of them, despite their different politics, sounded the same outrage. Within 12 hours, the view count surpassed 5 million across all digital platforms. Within 24 hours, the hashtag Justice for Williams was trending nationwide. Within 48 hours, international news outlets were covering the story. The BBC, Reuters, Al Jazeera. The entire world was watching this injustice. By 72 hours, the Pentagon issued an official public statement condemning the arrest. The view counts continued to surge. Twitter saw 8 million views and 200,000 shares. TikTok videos related to the incident combined for 15 million views. YouTube news clips quickly hit 10 million. Veteran Facebook groups shared the footage relentlessly. The comment sections overflowed with visceral reactions. He survived Afghanistan. He shouldn't have to survive a gas station stop. That man has medals for saving lives. He was treated like a criminal. This is the reality Black veterans face. Service does not protect you. 62 years isn't enough. Veterans groups galvanized, demanding justice. The VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars, spoke out forcefully. The American Legion issued a statement. Active duty soldiers shared the video among their ranks. The NAACP made a formal statement. The ACLU weighed in. Williams's mother spoke to local news reporters. I was waiting at home with his favorite meal ready. Instead, I got a call saying he was in jail. His sister added poignantly, he survived a war. He almost didn't survive coming home. Comment below, how did this story make you feel when you first encountered it? The trial proceeded in federal court. This was no longer a trivial local matter. The Department of Justice handled the prosecution personally. A jury of 12 citizens heard the compelling case. Prosecutors first showed the gas station footage, clear as day. Williams, in his dress uniform, medals gleaming, pumping gas, answering politely, being violently ordered to the ground. Then, they presented his comprehensive service record, 3 deployments, 2 Purple Hearts, Bronze Star with Valor. They read the Bronze Star citation aloud. Williams ran into a torrent of gunfire. He successfully dragged 3 wounded Marines to safety. He saved their lives. That was the man Hicks arrested. Military experts testified, confirming the uniform in the video was 100% authentic, properly worn, and the medals were correctly positioned. Everything meticulously followed military regulations. The defense desperately tried every angle. My client did not know military uniforms. The prosecutor asked, what did the jacket clearly state? U.S. Marines, the defense conceded. And yet you claim he didn't know it was a military uniform? The prosecutor scoffed. My client thought the ID might be fake. The prosecutor displayed the ID's federal security features and holographic seal, reiterating that verification takes minutes. My client followed procedure. The prosecutor played the footage one last time. What procedure requires arresting someone for buying gas? There was no answer. The jury's deliberation was notably brief. The verdict: guilty on every single charge. Assault on a service member. Deprivation of rights. False imprisonment. Misconduct. Hate crime. The presiding judge, himself a Navy veteran, looked directly at Hicks. He spoke slowly, with palpable condemnation. You didn't see a Marine, the judge pronounced. You didn't see medals. You didn't see service. You saw only what you wanted to see. And why? You humiliated a man who has given more to this country than you ever will. The sentence handed down, 62 years in federal prison, one of the longest sentences ever issued for police misconduct in U.S. history. There would be no chance for parole. Sergeant Williams also filed a civil lawsuit against the county and state. They settled quickly and confidentially. The compensation he received was $16.88 million, marking the largest settlement in state history for a case of police misconduct. Troy Hicks lost everything: his badge, his freedom, his pension, and his reputation. But the harsh truth remains: money cannot repair everything. Some psychological wounds burrow deeper than any financial check can reach. Months later, Sergeant Williams stood before Congress, having been invited to testify about the treatment of Black veterans by law enforcement. The room was packed, and cameras recorded his every word. He spoke calmly, with the same composure he displayed at the gas station. I have long dealt with PTSD from combat, he told the assembly. But the arrest was worse. In Afghanistan, I knew exactly who the enemy was. At that gas station, I became the enemy in my own country. He paused, letting the silence hang heavy. I was 50 miles from my mother's house, wearing the very uniform I wore to serve this nation, and I was thrown to the ground like a common criminal. He detailed his medals, his 2 Purple Hearts, earned because he had been shot at, blown up. I almost paid the ultimate price protecting the ideals of this nation. I pulled 3 of my brothers, 3 Marines, out of the kill zone while enemy fire peppered the ground around us, he stated, his voice tight with lingering indignation. I returned to the homeland I swore to defend only to be instantly profiled and treated as an inherent threat. He delivered an unwavering message directly to every Black veteran watching. Understand this deeply. Your unwavering service matters. Your profound sacrifice matters. Do not allow the indifference or the racism of others to negate the truth of what you did. Never let them tell you your honor is hollow. But his sternest words were reserved for the nation itself. The uniform is meant to be a covenant. The medals are supposed to signify an unbreakable trust. I need America to understand that I am not an outlier in this experience. I was simply the one fortunate enough, or perhaps unfortunate enough, to have my humiliation permanently captured on digital recording. He spoke his truth, articulating a clear, essential need. I simply want this injustice to cease. I want the next young Black Marine to pull over, pump gas for his family, and conduct the most mundane task without fear, suspicion, or the weight of racial bias looming over him. Those concluding sentences, simple yet devastating, are the ones that pierce the soul of the American promise. I went to war for this country. I should not have to engage in a never-ending war with this country just to be granted the peace of my own home. Williams's high-profile confrontation wasn't just a fleeting viral moment. It became a catalyst for tangible, albeit imperfect, policy reform. The Department of Defense quickly issued revised directives. New Pentagon rules now mandate that local law enforcement must confirm a service member's active status through established, official military channels before any stop or detainment of an individual in uniform. Furthermore, Williams spearheaded the passage of the landmark Service Member Protection Act. Crucially, the shocking footage of his arrest was transformed into mandatory training curriculum, distributed to police academies and precincts nationwide. Now this video, once a symbol of shame, is shown repeatedly, a stark, visceral lesson in how not to treat a citizen. Yet, we must confront the uncomfortable truth. Williams possessed advantages that insulate very few victims. He had tangible proof, the Purple Heart, the commendations, the record of exceptional service. He had the immediate, unwavering institutional backing of the Pentagon, who saw their own honor stained. Most critically, he had the undeniable, irrefutable video evidence. The vast majority of people subjected to this dehumanizing treatment possess none of these safeguards. Their raw, painful stories fade before they ever register online. Their pleas for justice rarely ascend past the local precinct, let alone reach the procedural heights of federal court. So, I ask you now, looking at the screen, how many more Black combat veterans must be publicly debased, their dignity stripped away roadside, before we finally commit to systemic correction? How many decorated American heroes must be forced to kneel on hot, unforgiving pavement, their hands behind their backs, before accountability for officers becomes a standard operating procedure, not a national crisis? How many times must the cherished insignia of U.S. Marines be clearly stamped across someone's chest before they are afforded the simple, undeniable recognition of being fully American? Because if we only stir ourselves to action when the body camera is running, if we only feel compelled to intervene when the massive machinery of the Pentagon is mobilized, if we only demand punishment for those officers when the outrage swells into a viral tsunami, then we are doing nothing but passively awaiting tragedy. We are simply setting the stage for the next Cricks, the next Williams, the next homecoming celebration violently terminated before it ever truly begins. Take a moment to comment below. Do you believe 62 years was a sufficient sentence for the actions described? Or do you believe the corrupt system that sheltered and protected Cricks for years requires a much more thorough, agonizing examination? If you believe these essential stories of accountability matter, show your support. Hit that subscribe button. We promise to continue shining a searing light on these critical cases. We will continue to aggressively demand automatic, equitable accountability. We will continue the fight for every single man and woman who volunteers to serve this country. All of them. This is infinitely larger than one rogue officer or one victimized Marine. It is a fundamental test of our identity. It is about who we choose to protect, and ultimately, it is about who we choose to truly see. We will see you in the next one.